Fáilte chuig fulham.com. We're going to take a look at the Caol agus Leathan the Leathan rule. It's a grammar rule that's essential for good quality spelling. So Caol agus Leathan the Leathan, what does it mean? Well, in very simple terms, it means slender vowels should be beside slender vowels and broad vowels should be beside broad vowels. So slender, the very simple definition is that it's slim, thin or narrow. So E agus I would be sample letters, and broad are wide, fat or deep. So the five vowels that we have in the guti as Gaeilge, they are A, E, I, O and U. E and I are slender, and the way to try and decipher that is E and I are quite high up in your lungs when you're saying it, and A, O and U are broad, they're quite deep down. So the rule only applies to vowels, and consonants, as Gaeilge consonant, are all of the letters in language except for A, E, I, O and U. That's straightforward enough. Examples of consonants obviously are B, C, D, F, P, S, T, any of those. The rule does not mean that only vowels can be directly beside each other. It applies to situations where consonants come between vowels, and that's really important, so note that down. We're dealing with situations where consonants come between vowels. Why do we need to learn this? Very simple terms, it's important for spelling. You know, there's three examples. Which one is right? A, B or C? The answer is C. Why? For verb endings, you know, how are we going to put quer into the Aimsir Oshnach? Is it going to be F-I-D-H, F-A-I-D-H, F-A-I-M-S, etc.? You have to know this. And for case changes, for example, what is the top of the tree in Irish? Tisha Ginaduk, etc. That creates various different situations where you need to know this rule. Boran Chraun or Boran Chreen, which is it going to be? Each time you need to spell a word, or you're unsure of the spelling, do the following. Mark each vowel as either broad or slender, cross out all of the consonants, and the final step, and that looks complicated there, but it's not actually that difficult. Before and after a single consonant or group of consonants, there should be matching vowels. So E should be with E with I with E, or I with I. This is something that will make perfect sense in a few moments. So if we take a look at the word Caol, the horse, or sorry, a horse. Caol, cross out the consonants and mark the vowels in the guti as broad or slender. So A is broad and A is broad. And what you see is when you cross out the consonants, you've got A beside A, and that's broad beside broad, so that applies to the rule. Kishtin is another example. So if we take a look at Kishtin, cross out our consonants, as I say, and mark out our vowels. The C, S, T and N are all crossed out, and you're left with I beside I. Slender beside slender. Caol. Perfect. Fermure. So Fermure, again, we mark out each one as it should be, and you'll see that you've got I beside E. If you knock out the R and M in the middle, you've got a situation where consonants are coming between vowels. So you remove them and you see that both I and E match together, and that's one of the combinations we can have. Chopador. Again, we mark out everything, and you'll see that in this case a P and a D are coming between the vowels. So in the first instance you've got O beside A, which is fine, that's perfect. And the second instance we've got A beside O. So you've broad with broad in both cases. So when you want to join roots with endings, you should use the Caol agus Leathan the Leathan rule. If the last vowel in the root is slender, the first vowel in the ending must also be slender. For example, Cuireann, you've got the I with the E if you mark out the R. If the last vowel in the root is broad, the first vowel in the ending must also be broad. For example, Déanann, and again mark out the N and you've got A with A. An exception to this will be the word Gaeltacht. There are other exceptions also, and we'll come across them at a later point. So as you can see, I with E, A with A, perfect, but E with A here doesn't work, and as I said, there are exceptions. So try the following. Quer, mark it out, and this is what you end up with. Last vowel in this root is slender. Déan, again, mark it out. I should do this in a sheet, and you can see that the last vowel in this root is broad.